What's going on, YouTube family? Today we have the last used car update in 2024. Now, believe it or not, a lot of stuff has changed from December 4th of 2023 to today. For example, a Tesla Cybertruck sold at auction for $200,000. Today, you could find them on Facebook Marketplace pretty much everywhere for 90 to 85,000 bucks, and at auction they're selling anywhere from 75 to 85,000 dollars. That just shows you how far we came in just 12 months. Now, I'm going to give you a breakdown of all the crazy things that's happened, the difference between financing then, now, and also some of the things you need to know about because unfortunately, negative equity took over 2024, and I want to make sure that a lot of you guys buying new cars don't fall into the same pitfall in 2025. So in December of 2023, the world started to sober up and not wanting to pay these crazy over MSRP prices on new vehicles because they saw that the used market was starting to soften up. Now, it sounds hard to believe, but like I said, people were still paying $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over MSRP back in December of last year. Remember the Hyundai Palisade? Very nice SUV. People were paying over $40,000 for MSRP. If you wanted a Toyota minivan or a full-size truck or even one of the Tacomas, you were paying anywhere from $10,000 to $25,000 over MSRP. There was a dealership here in Las Vegas in the middle of 2023 sold a Toyota RAV4 for $40,000 over MSRP because this family didn't want to wait. They wanted to get a brand new car during that time period. Now, I made a joke about negative equity being the terminology of 2024, and nothing rings truer. Every time I talk to people for the last few years, I'm trying to trade in my car, I'm trying to do something. If you bought from 2020 to 2023, you are absolutely screwed. This just shows how far the market has came in 2024. Let's just start off with a few of the EVs. We'll go into gas, SUVs, and then luxury cars, and maybe a few exotics. Now, if you guys remember, the Tesla Model Plaid was the hot, EV/luxury car to get in 2022 and 2023. People were fighting for these cars. So my buddy put in his order at the end of 2022 and finally got it, I think, in the beginning of 2023. He paid a little over $126,000 for that car. He actually wanted to trade in his car earlier this year just to see if he can get something newer or a little bit different because he just figured the EVs weren't for him. Now, he put $20,000 down, and I think with all of his payments, he probably still owed a little bit over $90,000. But he figured he had some sort of equity in it because he put such a large down payment. But when he went to go trade it in, the dealership would only give him $60,000. So he thought it was just a dealer. They didn't like EVs, so he went back to Tesla, and Tesla offered him $63,000 for the car he just paid the year before, $126,000. So after that, alarm waking moment, we made a lot of these videos talking about the fall off of EV values, and that's no different from Lucid Air lost almost $100,000 in value, the Audi e-tron, the Porsche Taycans. If you got the GT model and you paid $220 for it, and a lot of these people paid way over MSRP on those, now you can see them at auction anywhere from $65,000 to $75,000 with low miles. If you get them higher miles, I've seen them retailing for $60,000 to $70,000. So now that we know that the EV market pretty much just exploded on impact and that market is basically tanked, I think now is a good time if you're looking for a used EV to get one, because I know that they're going to take away the EV credit. So if you want to buy used, you can go to a dealership and get $4,000 in tax benefits. Or if you use Key Savvy, it's basically, you could buy private party, but it's run through a dealership. So you could actually get that tax credit if you're buying from private party. So that's something that I wanted to share for you guys to get out there. But what about trucks? Everybody said that trucks, everybody wants trucks. Trucks are something that's always going to stay there in value. Nope. If anybody knows what's going on with Stellantis, Dodge made a huge mistake of marking up every single vehicle. They decided they don't want to make anything cheap. Everything's going to be expensive. Ford, same thing. Everything had to be leather, crew cab, 4x4, all the bells and whistles. And now all of those trucks are hurting. They can't move them. A regular guy that works a construction job does not want to pay $95,000 for a truck. He needs something that's in the $40,000 to $30,000 range. But unfortunately, nobody makes trucks like that unless you want to get a Ford Maverick, which is not even a truck, it's a car, just built to make it look like a truck. So now with these things basically affecting the truck market, what happened between 2023 and now? Well, remember the Ford Lightning? That's kind of a truck/EV, but they were selling for $25,000 over MSRP. A few friends of mine bought the Ford Lightning, way overpaid for it. Make a long story short, that car is worth 50% less today than when it was exactly 12 months ago, which is scary. So pretty much everybody's upside down. But what about the TSX Raptors, or no, the TSXs and the Ford Raptors? Both of those, well over MSRP. Even if you bought them used, you were still paying over MSRP. Today, I see these things at the auction every single week. I just saw a 2020 Raptor, I think with 60,000 miles run at auction for $38,000. Now, I was a little banged up, I have to be honest, but still, I couldn't even touch one of those for under 90 grand a year ago. It just blows my mind on how fast and how quick the market's changed. Now, I know a lot of people watching this video are gonna be like, that's not true, Lucky, prices are still crazy and everything else. As you're watching the market, prices are going down. I'll put a picture up here. It's called the Used Car Market Index. And you can see from 2022 till now, it's made a massive drop. Now, it went up a little bit, but it's starting to go back down because the interest rates are not going to go down. They're going to stay the way they are because we need to fight inflation. And you're going to see this start to taper off a little bit more after the beginning of the new year. Now that they're actually releasing real job numbers, real issues on the economy, I think once there's a transition of power and the new president gets in, they're going to actually rip off the Band-Aid and let the American people know how bad the economy really is. I think used car prices are going to go down even more. But that's the reason why some of these overpriced, expensive, inflated trucks are falling like a rock, because people just can't afford them. And most of the truck buyers are buying them to use them for trucks, not to use them as something just is a showpiece or a mall crawler. So now this is putting major pressure on truck manufacturers to help either lower the prices or give some sort of incentives. I know Stellantis has a crazy amount of incentives. I saw Ford had, I think it was like in some states, 0% interest, but they either give you 0% interest, but you got to pay full MSRP, or they give you like a $5,000 or $10,000 rebate, and then you can go ahead and get maybe a 6 to 8% interest rate when you come to financing. So it's either that or one. They're going to get you either way, but that's what you're starting to see. I've never seen prices on new trucks since the pandemic actually go back of MSRP, but you're starting to see it now. So even though you guys keep saying that there's nothing changing, the new cars are too expensive, the used cars are too expensive, you're going to see used cars drop even faster, because remember, people don't have money. I have a bunch of really nice regular cars and supercars up for sale right now. If you guys follow me on Instagram at Lucky Lopez, I have a $450,000 Ferrari F8 that they're willing to sell for $390,000. It's only got, I think, 8,000 miles. It's a 2022 Spider. Thing's beautiful. It's the cheapest one in the United States. And I've gotten like 2 or 3 calls of people asking me, will I take even less than what it is? You can't even get them at auction for that. That just shows you how crazy the market is. I have cars that are $3,000 or $4,000 that people are asking me to make payments on because they can't buy cash a $2,000 to $4,000 car. This just shows you how far the market has came. Now, when there was a lot of money, the demand was there, people were overpaying. Now that we're in December of 2024, the economy is in a different place. So now the pricing is catching up to where the economy is standing. Remember how we talked about in 2024, or excuse me, at the December 2023, banks started to backpedal on their lending because they realized, oh crap, we way overlent on all these cars, 160, 170% LTV. We gave people that should have never gotten a loan, we gave them loans because we never checked their credit, we never checked their proof of income or the residency. Well, now that all this default and all this bad stuff is happening, it's putting pressure on the used car market to bring the prices down, because banks don't want to lend. If they lent me $200,000 on this G-Wagon in 2020 and now it's worth $100,000, they're going to be freaking out. So they need to get 3 or 4 other ones and other loans, but they want to make sure that whoever they loan on this next G-Wagon, they're only giving them $90,000. So they're always back at book. So they're in the right if they have to repo it, because every banker I talk to is expecting repos to go up at least another 3 to 5% in the first quarter of 2025. But this is another thing that's putting pressure on used car prices to come down. I'm sure if you guys have any cars for sale, chime in the comment section. Have you had a hard time selling your car? I had a friend of mine, he's pretty much put his Razor for almost $10,000 cheaper than what he bought it for last year, and he still can't sell it because anything that's like an ATV or an accessory or some sort of hobby vehicle is not selling because people can't even afford the basic necessities. Unfortunately, inflation has pretty much crippled the economy, which basically squeezes, like I said, the car prices a little bit lower. Another thing that's pretty interesting is a lot of the banks that we've been talking to refuse to let go of cars. Now, this is what's called a no sale. If a car runs through the auction and doesn't hit reserve, they basically just put it back in line and run it again next week. Well, a lot of these banks are literally taking the cars from different metropolitan areas and shipping them out to smaller towns and across the country. So this way they can kind of scatter and divide all of their repos. So this way they don't make the market drop even further. A few of these larger banks said that they're actually literally going to sit on 2,000 cars until the first quarter of 2025 because they don't want to let them go because they think the prices are too low right now, which I hate to give them bad news. I think the prices are going to go even lower in the first quarter of 2025, but that's where banks are at now. So even though the market is tightening, you can see it on the walls that the prices are going down. A lot of the banks still don't want to let go of all these repos and lose thousands of dollars. And then now let's get to the dealers. What are dealers doing? Dealers are doing the exact same thing. They're into these cars so much, they're buried into them. They don't want to lower the prices because they're going to lose money when they sell the car. So what happens? They got two options. One, they lower the price of the car, basically take it in the shorts, buy another car, make their money up, somewhere down the road. Two, they hold on to it, wait, and then they basically go out of business because they're not selling any of their cars. A lot of these guys don't have any money. They have flooring plans, which are lines of credit. That's bone-crushing debt, and banks are very gangster. If these dealers don't sell cars and they don't make their payments on their flooring line, they will show up with tow trucks, block off the dealership, and take all the keys for the cars and take all the cars off the dealership lot and literally sell them at the auction for whatever they can do and sue the dealership for the difference. This is happening more and more often. Now, remember about, I think, 4 months ago, I talked about how there was no spaces here in Vegas, but I promise you there'll be quite a few opening up, so I'm hoping I can open up a dealership again. I literally drove through two of the areas. There are so many open dealerships here, it's ridiculous. Now, unfortunately, the owners are still smoking crack. They think that the values are really high, the economy's good, so I'm just going to sit here and wait probably till March of next year before we open up our new Panda Auto sales. Anyway, so that's my dream coming in 2025. We'll see if it happens, but now that these dealers are starting to go out of business, we're seeing even more cars hit the auction block, and so that's even more pressure to lower the prices of the cars. So let's talk about something a little bit more fun. Let's talk about classic cars and exotic cars. Now, surprisingly, classic cars are staying kind of relatively high in value. Now, a lot of them did drop. They're not getting that crazy money like they were on Bring a Trailer, about a year or two ago. But the market is really stabilized, and I'm starting to see an uptick when it comes to that because I believe that classic cars are going to go up in value because anything that's more analog, that's a manual, that's got the V8 and everything else, those cars are going to become more rare. So I think they're going to go up in value. Now, exotic cars, it's kind of funny. There's two different buyers of these. So you have a lot of these older classic, I can't say classic, but older exotic cars like Murcielagos, Ferrari 360s, 430s. These are all going up in value because people are either manual swapping them or they're more analog or they're naturally aspirated. They're the last of that generation. So people that want to get that true feeling of driving an exotic car, that's what they believe is the true purest form. But if we look on the other end, like the Ferrari SF90, that thing took a nosedive. I remember a guy paying $1.2 million for this. I was like a bronze color one with like blue interior. I thought it was ugly, but it was like the only one painted that color. It was like a specialty thing, and he overpaid for it. Today, you could see these things at auction between like $590 and like maybe $650-ish. And it's like this guy just lost almost $500,000 right from the get-go, probably closer to 700,000. And so those things fell off a cliff. A lot of the Lamborghini Uruses, the number one crypto bro / Turo guru, those cars, same thing, massive nosedive. People were paying $100K over MSRP. Now they owe $300,000. You can buy them all day at the auction for $200, sometimes with a little bit of miles, under $200,000. So now it's like the exotic market is on its head. How do we buy these new cars? How do we sell them? What is the true market value? And this is the problem that we have with exotic cars. So when a Kia runs through an auction, there's a baseline price, and every week there's hundreds, if not thousands of Kias that run through the auction, and this is where you find the vehicle value. When it comes to classic cars and exotic cars, it's not like that because, there's only so many Ferraris. There's only so many Audi R8s, Aston Martins, Lamborghinis. And so it's very hard to put a value on something that only runs once because if you have multiple data points to put across, oh, this one had low miles, this one had high miles, this one's a good shape, this one's a bad shape, you could figure out a vehicle value. So what's happening now is every time an exotic car goes through the lane, people are afraid because most of these dealers are like monkeys. They literally pull out their phone. There's an app that will tell you how much to pay, which is MMR. They'll scan it. And if the app says $250,000, they're going to raise their hand and be like, I'll pay $250,000. But now that MMR is not working and you have to literally use your brain and the market values, I watch dealers scan it and they look at it. I'll bid you 100,000 because I don't know the vehicle value. And so now they're pissing off everybody. Nothing is selling. And so now the used car market, when it comes to exotics, is in a real tailspin because people don't know the true value of what these vehicles are. Now, like I said, I have quite a few exotics. If you want to go to my Instagram at Lucky Lopez, I think a few of them are still up today. Also, if you have any cars you want to get rid of, message me directly as well. I'm going to try to get more people financed. I have a great company called Luxury Lease Partners that's helping people out, that's getting them financing for either exotic cars, classic cars. I would say if you're looking at buying a car, if you're buying an EV, do it before tax return. If you're buying a classic car, buy it right now. If you're buying a regular car, I would wait a little bit more because I still think prices have to come down. If you're buying an exotic car, I would be extremely careful. Look at the vehicle values, look at what other cars are selling for. And it's very hard because some of these cars, the differences could be just the options. If you guys know Rolls Royce, one Rolls Royce could be 300 grand, the other one could be $500,000. And it's just because the options. Maybe this one has zebra wood and a crystal clock, and that's what gives it another $180,000 in options. I'm not even joking. Like, exotic cars are crazy like that. I've seen Ferraris jump almost $120,000, $130,000 just from options. Lamborghini's the same thing. So it's very important to do the research if you're looking at buying an exotic car. But anyways, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully 2025 will be a much better year for us because I'd rather do fun videos about all the great deals people are getting instead of all the bad negative equity and how everybody's buried and repos are going crazy. But unfortunately, through the next probably, I'd say, year, we're going to talk a lot about repos because it's just going to get worse and worse, but the deals are going to get much better for everybody that's watching. So if you're looking for a car, like I said, market prices are down and they're still going to continue to go down. But I want to thank you guys once again so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.